大家好，好久不见。今天我有 course，所以我特别也特别想要录制视频。今天我想要说话，嗯，自由主义。Hello, everyone. It's been a while, long time no see. Um, Today I had some free time, so I decided that I wanted to go ahead and make a video. It probably won't be long, but longer than what I've been putting out. I've been putting out like these quick thought things. The last one was literally a quick thought on a day where like my brain wasn't really working. I had just gotten done working out, which you haven't seen that. Go look at it. I look pretty good in that actually. um, but I've been having this thought recently. But before I get into that, I've been doing quite a bit of reading. Read some really good books. I have one in front of me here that I finished, Capital Order: How Economists Invented Austerity and Paved the Way to Fascism. Right, and so I'm actually working on a project based off of that idea. That will be a video, like in a actual video format, where I really edit it and put things together instead of just getting thoughts out there, right? Because these less talks, that's what they're about. I'm just trying to work through my thought process so that I can better communicate what it is that that I'm thinking in terms of something, right? So yeah, this has been just on my mind because as it stands now, Donald Trump, God, what's the word? Uh, Chuan, Chuan Jiegua, or was it Chuan? I have it here somewhere. One second. Chuan Jianguo, Chuan Jianguo. Great nation builder. Yep. Donald Trump building the great nation of China. Donald Trump has been a complete disaster for this country. And I hear someone sneezing. I don't know if it's below me or outside, but I hear someone sneezing. And so Donald Trump is not the what's how does that saying go? It's like not the symptom, you're the God, why I can't remember that phrase right now. I'm sure it'll come back up. um or he is the symptom. They're not this, but it's the symptom. Anyways, Donald Trump has caused a lot of harm in this in his second administration so far, and just a year and a half into it. um, where you've got higher unemployment. You have with the higher unemployment, especially with the layoff of the federal workers, that is a key component of austerity. Um, Lowering the federal workforce and forcing people to go into the private sectors. With that being said, job growth is still slow. You have higher unemployment. You have high inflation. You have gas prices, which right now are lower, than they were a few weeks ago because the Trump administration cut the gas tax, when they also are using Federal Reserves to try to artificially lower those prices. But that can only hold up for so long. So before you know it, our gas prices are back up because our reserves are low, and actually you have fucking um, oil giants basically yelling and pleading to Donald Trump to do something because it's going to be really bad, even for them, if we keep burning through the reserves that we have. You've got fucking tapeworms, or not tapeworms, screw worms in cattle in the southeast right now. At the very beginning, we had the avian flu that brought the cost of eggs up. But then, yeah, just inflation, I think, hit the highest has been in what 3 years or something like that since COVID, I believe. And so I've just been thinking about this idea of um, liberalism, right? So since Donald Trump took office again, we've seen, and with it being the midterms right now, we're going into the midterm season, we've seen a lot of Democratic voters, show voice their their frustration with the Democrats, right? The Democratic Party. A lot of it stemming from not fighting back again hard enough against the Trump administration and what they're doing. I mean, we're seeing people get brutalized. We're seeing Americans die. We're seeing people die in these concentration camps that the Trump administration has put up, where they're working with private prisons. They're doing all these things, and it's sickening. So Dem voters are showing that they are kind of fed up with the Democratic Party right now, and you see that with the insurgent candidates that are coming in, winning primaries, and really putting pressure on the Democratic Party. Now, obviously, not all of them are winning because there are other forces at play, right? But the broader point is that since Trump's second administration started, and the Dem Party not doing enough to fight back, you're starting to see a rise within the Democratic base, identifying more with socialism than liberalism. Okay, and it's very telling. The Democratic base is, not only are they becoming more socialist, but you also see the Dem voters voicing their how do I say it? How do I want to say it? They're voicing their displeasure towards Israel. That is a big component in this. Dem voters are even more in support of Medicare for all now. They're excuse me. Democratic voters are basically more in favor at this point in spending more taxpayer dollars um, in this country for people in this country, instead of sending or using our tax dollars to send bombs overseas to give to Israel to bomb children in the Gaza Strip, or children in Lebanon, or children in Iran. And they also don't want America to be spending money to drop bombs elsewhere in the world, whether it be Africa, the Middle East, the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic, or not the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, or the Gulf of Mexico. Yes, I still call it that. It's not. It's not a protest thing. It's just how I always grew up knowing it as. So I'm still gonna call it. I'm gonna dead name it. That's what I'm gonna do. Damn it! And you're going to let me dead name the Gulf, okay? But also bombing bombing some countries in South America. I'm trying to remember which one it was, but America bombed a farm, a barn somewhere in South America. I can't remember which country it is right now. Um, but yeah, and also getting Mexico to go in and basically kill a cartel leader, and having mad violence across part of Mexico, which I actually know people who ended up couldn't going to Mexico because they were going to be too close to that, which is insane. So America is doing a lot, right? And them voters are like, we don't want our taxpayer dollars to be spent on that shit. We want it to be spent here because there are people in need here. We have 700,000 people who are homeless. We have millions of kids who are food insecure or hungry. We have crumbling public education in this country. We have crumbling infrastructure in this country. We have medical debt in this country. We have credit card debt. We have student debt in this country. It is all crippling to people's livelihoods. They can't afford housing because private equity is buying up all the housing. You want a house, you go look at it. Well, now people, these firms are like, whoa, someone's interested in this house. Let's buy it up and let's flip it somehow. Let's rent it out or some shit like that. It's just like this stuff is insane, and people are against it. I mean, the Trump administration is cutting SSI checks to adults who still need the assistance of their parents. So they live with their parents. They're cutting that. They're cutting LIHEAP. They're to help people afford to afford heating and cooling. They're cutting housing assistance. They're cutting all these things. That is austerity. And guess what? It is a liberal economic policy. So this is this is why I've been thinking about this for so long, because for so long in this country, we have time and time again been forced to adopt austerity measures, typically coming from the Republicans, but it also has come from Democrats as well, right? Bill Clinton, he was trying to get people, off of welfare. It is an age-old thing. Excuse me a second. It's an age-old thing. I mean, it goes back to after World War One. This idea of austerity. It is a liberal concept. And before I get more into that, I just wanted to say it's like, there's not a lot of political knowledge in this country, so a lot of people would just a lot of people would call themselves liberals, right? Which is fine. I mean, when you for a long time it's fine. When you look at it, liberalism as political philosophy is based on the rights of the individual, rights of the individual, liberty, consent to the government, political equality, right to private property, and equality before the law. Now, you generally get support for liberal democracy, private property, market economies, individual rights, including civil rights, human rights. You get all this stuff, right? But the key takeaway from it is the economy part. Right. So a lot of people, agree with a lot of these things. They're starting to understand that the free market is not what they identify with, but they identify with these other things, and that is absolutely okay. But you start to differentiate yourself when you start realizing that there is a increasing wealth gap in this country, and everything is being done to increase that wealth gap. There's nothing being done, or there's either nothing being done or very minute things being done to advance things for the working class. The working class have been suffering in this country for a long time, especially after Reagan. Reagan came in with Milton Friedman and totally just decimated things. Milton Friedman, he is the architect of trickle-down economics, or Reaganomics, as it is known. And the idea that, if we funnel more money to the top, to the capital owners, the employers, then inevitably that wealth is going to trickle down to everybody else. This has never been the case, even before then, because what do the wealthy do when they have wealth? They find ways to amass more wealth, obviously. And so people aren't fucking with that anymore. People are realizing that, hey, actually, things are more expensive I'm finding it harder to afford the things that I need and the things that I want, alongside the every bill that I have to pay, whether it be energy bill, um, your electric bill, your your internet bills, your rent, your mortgage. It's harder and harder to do these things. And now is where I start to kind of get lost in my thoughts. This is why I do this, because I can go in many different ways here. But let's start with this. So austerity, right, is the no, I can't start there. God, see, this is why I do this. This is why I do this, because where am I going with this? I don't want to go into austerity yet. I want to go into liberalism. That's what I'm talking about right now. Not austerity, liberalism. So, the the thing about liberalism is that there is a big belief in free markets, the market economy, whatever you want to call it, and that is to, the government should keep their hands off of this and let the markets play out as they would. That being said, it's never been hands off. Rather, it's always been the government saying, here, you can have this. Here, you can have that. You can have this. You can have that. Instead of, we're going to take this and we're going to take that. The government is giving the billionaires, corporations, money in the form of subsidies. We subsidize these large corporations. Hell, with some corporations like Walmart, we subsidize them by basically letting by we subsidize them by um, paying their employees, right? And what I mean by that is um, Walmart um, operates by employing, obviously, a large. One second. Right. So where was I? Actually, I really don't know. I got a phone call and I just don't know where I was. Talking about liberalism, talking about handouts. Oh, Walmart. Yeah, so we subsidize Walmart by paying their workers. So Walmart operates by paying their workers low wages, in which they're forced to um, they're forced to use food stamps to be able to feed themselves, and then they have to turn around and use those food stamps at Walmart. So that is a cycle of um, taxpayers just putting more money into these corporations or the billionaires, and it doesn't help us in any way, and people are understanding that. So the idea of a free market isn't even true, and and what it's supposed to be, because the government does have hands on the market, and that's a very helping hand, if you would. And so this is where the disconnect is, because people just think liberalism is about, a liberal democracy, civil rights, yada yada yada, right? Um, Equal opportunity, under the law or whatever. But that aspect of a free market is very important to liberalism as a philosophy, and it's failing. Um, I was gonna say that Elon Musk is now a fucking trillionaire. That was that was with the help of the government. Um, they change things around so that, if you have like what is it, you got retirement plans that puts money in stocks. They just went public with SpaceX stocks. Before you know it, your retirement plan, whatever thing is now, is it a 401k, 401ks and other stuff. Now, has you, buying into SpaceX stocks. And this is just like, I don't know the full scope of it. This is just what I know. I'm not an economist. I don't know about that stuff. But you see what I mean? It's like the government changed things around, allowing Elon Musk to then become that trillionaire, right? Which is a grave injustice to not just Americans, but the world. There should not be a trillionaire. There shouldn't be billionaires. This is not a thing that should exist. And the thing is, too, that you have to remember is that there are liberals on both sides of the political spectrum, both on the right side of the political spectrum and the left side of the political spectrum, right? So you have, your liberal Democrats. These are they're often centrist, but they're very much for the market. If you want to think about it in simple terms, kind of think about it as a Republican comes in, cuts taxes, especially like corporate taxes on corporations, whatever you want to call it. Democrat comes in, doesn't really change it. Why? Because it's helping those corporations. And I'll get into a little bit of my thoughts on like why that is as well. But then, obviously, Republicans, liberals on the Republican side, they're there to help help corporations as well. I mean, under the Trump administration, Elon Musk has become a trillionaire. Look at that. Look at Paramount buying up Warner Brothers, right? Corporate consolidation happens whether there's a conservative administration or a liberal administration. These things happen. Now, with that being said, if you remember, under Biden, we had Lena Khan, an absolute, the GOAT, an absolute hero, who was doing trust busting, and that trust busting is the thing that protects the consumers. We need that more than ever. So, in terms of being having liberals on both sides, it kind of goes like with alongside lobbying. So if there's incentive to take this kind of woke approach to things for companies, then they will more than likely lobby with a liberal that is on the left. But the inverse is also true. If there's incentive not to go woke, then they can lobby to someone on the right. That's how it works. And so what you get is that both two sides that work at the behest of these large corporations and the wealthy. And it's this this and the vast concentrations of wealth is a direct antagonist towards actual democracy, because we don't get a say in that. We do not get a say in that. We elect these politicians often as a way to mitigate, some kind of harm that another candidate would do. If you just kind of look at how we vote for presidents, after the first Bush came, what's his name? Clinton, right? Then after Clinton came the other Bush, right? Then after Bush came Obama. Then after Obama came Trump. Then after Trump came Biden. Then after Biden came Trump. It's because Americans, there's multiple reasons, but one of the big reasons is because Americans are like, oh, things suck right now, and this is the party that's in control. So we have to go the opposite way. That's a big problem with the Democrats. They don't actually change much. they barely undo the damage that the Republican administration caused. And the Republicans go into the White House and just destroy everything, and then Democrats don't take a bold stance to actually change things, and that is a problem. But you have to understand that the liberal mind is thinking we're not going to make these bold changes because that would be putting us against the large corporations and against the billionaires that are backing us, that we have to help because we got to keep the economy strong. To keep the economy strong, well, these corporations and these billionaires need to keep getting their money, right? And that's, I mean, in the most basic terms, what liberalism is. I'm just trying to go off this. I'm shooting my thoughts, guys. Um, I can't, like, if I'm not, I don't know. I'm just trying to free form this. But yeah, so yeah, at the basic level, that's what liberalism is, and uh, the Democratic voters are seeing are seeing and taking issue with that, and they should. And that's why I believe more Democratic voters are starting to identify with socialism, because they see the writing on the wall. They see it with their pocketbooks, right? They're not able to buy as much, and you can't, that immigrants aren't the problem. That black people aren't the problem. That queer people aren't the problem. Women aren't the problem. It's not another group it's not another group around you that's the problem. It's the billionaires. It's the now trillionaire, the trillionaire Nazi. It's now it's the corporations that are allowed to consolidate, and because of consolidation, well, there's less choice now, and so they get to raise the prices. Inflation happens, they raise the prices to kind of continue having a profit, but then inflation goes down, but they don't have to really change the pricing of things, and they get even more profits. And this is just allowed to happen, and until it's challenged, where things aren't going to be good. And that's like, I'm getting away from the whole liberal socialist debate now, but it's just like, if if the Democratic Party is not going to start pushing bold change, say we win the White House in 2028, but nothing really changes, you're just going to get something worse than Trump. And that's what this book that I'm reading is about. This idea that um you know au- austerity leads to fascism, because you start cutting government spending and making lives harder for people, and then they need somewhere to put that anger, and because people are angry, they're very volatile, and so you can really direct their anger at anything, right? And you're going to direct their anger at away from what the actual problem is, and that's capital owners, the ones who are making all the money and hoarding that wealth. And so yeah, that's just kind of that's just where my thoughts on that. I don't know. I got that phone call and lost my whole train of thought. But anyways, thank you for listening to me rant. I believe I have more, but I can't get there now. So all right, guys, peace.